It's not unusual for me to start a video with sparkling wine. And what I really hope for is champagne, actually, and that's what's happening this week on the Wine Bar. The first entry on the Wine Bar menu, which actually initiated last night, Thursday, I'm just late with the video, sorry, is the real deal. Real champagne, good stuff, from the Aube, the southern part of Champagne, where Pinot Noir is often the main ingredient. It is in this Charles Collin Champagne Brut. It's beautiful stuff. And it inspires me to say all kinds of cool things about wine today for about 20 minutes. And I am grateful that you still watch these. We appreciate it. It sometimes takes the place of a written newsletter if we don't have quite enough time to write as we used to. But we're easing our way back into that. But here's to you for everything you've been doing with us. We're very grateful. Once again, can't say it enough. I know I say it every time, but I am grateful. You're keeping me doing this, which is a great thing to be doing. Charles Collin Champagne is the first entry on our wine bar menu. Sometimes we do sparkling wine from somewhere else that costs a little bit less. There's always bubbly. It's a different one every week, but this time it's the real deal. Come on, look at that beautiful label there. Don't you want to drink this with me? It's a good thing there's a spit bucket around here. I would never survive these videos. Sparkling wine, first wine on the wine bar menu. What else? We always do a bright white. Let's tell you about that. We have a couple things to say during this video. So topic number one is, of course, the wine bar menu. And then we want to tell you about some wine club wines because it's that time of the month. It's wine club time. Come and get your July wines. You beloved wine club members, thank you for doing everything you do with us. I'm saying thank you a lot. I guess I'm feeling grateful. I always do, though. Look at this crazy looking label. I mean, just give it a try. Try to pronounce this. Nero Diablo Charan. When you see TX from a Spanish wine or on a Spanish wine label, you can be pretty sure that you're not in the southern part of Spain, the central part of Spain, but you're in far northern Spain, known as Basque country. And this is, in fact, not a Spanish word, but a Basque word, totally different language. As you probably know, we still don't know exactly where the heck that crazy sounding language came from. But it's pretty cool that these people still remember their heritage with language and with a particular set of grape varieties up there in the north that are not represented anywhere else in Spain. So I love it when places remain identifiable and they haven't gotten watered down or too globalized. Globalizing is pretty cool in some ways, but when it comes to wine, I don't want this wine, Chocolate, to be represented all over the world. I want to go to Spain, or at least go to Spain through a bottle to have it. I don't want it necessarily to happen here, and I don't think we would make it quite as well. This is a white wine, dry white wine made without oak, and as you may know, if you're passionate about Spanish white wine, Chocolate or Chocolina, you can say either one, is often a little bit fizzy, kind of like Vinho Verde from Portugal. Well, this one isn't. Apparently in this subzone of Chocolina, up there near San Sebastian, this area called Biscayco, the local tradition, is to do the unbubblied ones. That doesn't mean that everybody does it that way, but there's just a preponderance of producers making, let's say, a less silly version of Chocolina, unbubbled. Andoribizuri is your grape. There's another fancy Basque word for you. You're never going to remember it, but the wine is memorable. Just smell it and understand that you're having something, since the bubbles aren't here, something a little more like perhaps Albarino, and we know you like Albarino, especially on hot days like we're having today. This has a little more mouth to it. Again, Chocolina, usually fizzy, usually a little zingy, fizzy, a little like Vinho Verde from Portugal. This is the grown-up version. Let's call it that. Grow up to this. Delicious white wine. We know you will appreciate on the warm day we're having today. Order it off of the menu. It's wine number 2 on the menu. There's got to be pink. There's a different pink every week, but we don't always pour Bandol. How about this, that we are pouring for the second week in a row, the king, actually I call this the emperor of rosés, Bandol. Bandol is the name of the wine region. It's a little region on the Mediterranean. So southern France is where we're going, and this is where Mourvedre, the grape, is honored. This has about 66% Mourvedre, then it gets a little help from its friends named Grenache and Cinsault and so on. We showed you Gros Noret, Bandol, last week. This time we're showing you the less expensive and very good Bieler, B-I-E-L-E-R, Bandol. See Bandol in big bold print there? That means it's from Bandol. The French like to name their wine based on geographical source. I think that's cool. It's another way to go somewhere when it's not so easy to fly there right now. You can have a bottle of this and then you'll be flying. How about that? Good rosé. What's very, very, very cool about this weekend's wine bar menu is that 4 wines in the red wine flight come from one producer that we've said a lot about over the last several months, if not the last couple of years. We've had great success with the wines of Bokisch. It's an unusual name. This represents a gentleman out in Lodi named Marcus Bokisch. And whereas his name doesn't sound very Spanish, he has spent a lot of time in Spain living and making wine, and now is over here growing over 2,000 acres of vines in Lodi and making small amounts of wine. Well, how does that work? If you have over 2,000 acres and you're making small amounts, that means you're selling a lot of your very, very good fruit. He grows sustainably, which is a lot like growing organically. He maintains his workforce all year long, keeping them employed so they don't necessarily have to move with the seasons. So that's a pretty cool thing too. He's a thoughtful dude who has international wine awareness, and I think that's so important. In Lodi, just like other wine regions that haven't quite hit their stride yet for like on the world stage of wine, in Lodi, some wines can be over the top in size. I'm being kind. They can basically taste like stew or soup or raisins. They're just too much of something good. I mean, good is good, but more good than you want, it's like eating cake that has 10 inches of frosting on it. That's what a Lodi wine can be like. It's just more than you want. Marcus Bokisch, because of his great farming, because of his thoughtful winemaking, and especially, I believe, because of his wine awareness, an international wine awareness. He has a sense for elegance, balance, how big a wine should be. Never too big, never too little. His wines are wonderfully flavorful, but they're properly sized, I would say. And if you see here, this one is called Garnacha. He does in fact use, because of his Spanish affinities, he uses the Spanish names for the grapes frequently on his label. So instead of calling this Grenache, this is Garnacha that he grows himself in the Clements Hills. Got to drink this along with him, his wife, his winemaker, his son, and his sales guy. It was like a 5-on-2. It was a great experience. This is a winery you can visit and enjoy the same experience. And this is right where the winery is located, where the foothills of the Sierra Nevada are just beginning. So instead of flat, totally mundanely flat Lodi, you're finally up on a little grassy knoll, so to speak, looking down on some of his vines. He's got vineyards all over the place in Lodi, thoughtfully farmed, but you're looking down on the local Clements Hills one called Terra Alta. Terra Alta, he's named after a wine region in Spain. He's very attached to that area because he used to make wine there, and he still takes people there on annual tours. So whereas I mentioned he didn't get to do it last year, he and his wife will probably be revving up that program soon too. This is a really cool business to be aligned with because it's wine shoppy in that they only make 200, 300, 400 cases of every one wine that they make, and therefore it's never going to go to grocery stores. So it's a good fit for us. We also admire, like I said before, the balance and the size of the wines. This is a thing from Lodi that you don't usually get from Lodi. And I just really admire the whole gig from Bokisch. Affordability. Garnacha is wine number 1 on the flight. And then we're going to take you to Monastrell. Monastrell is what? Monastrell is the alternative name for Mourvedre. It's also called Mataro sometimes when it's being grown up in Oakley and down in Australia. But Monastrell is the Spanish name, basically, for Mourvedre. And, well, I haven't tasted wine in the last 2 minutes. Been gabbing too much. Let's wet the whistle. This was opened yesterday, and I'm happy about that because, as I've mentioned before, Mourvedre, or Monastrell as we're calling it this time, loves to overnight. It is actually one of the most forgiving kitchen counter wines. That wine that you forgot to put a cork in the night before, you were enjoying yourself so much and got distracted and you didn't put the cork back in the bottle. And Monastrell said, "It's okay, honey, I'm still good." And here we are, it is. Monastrell with that pomegranate, blood orange, raspberry, and more mysteriously, forest floor, or I like to call it composting leaf pile qualities. So nice wine, good structure, good body. There it is. That's Bokisch wine number 2 on the flight. Wine number 3 is something that I tasted up at the winery, and I said, wow, can I get that from our distributors, Chambers and Chambers? In other words, we buy our Bokisch wines through a distributor. The distributor does not get this. Why? Because 150, maybe 200 cases are made. It's one of their tiny production wines. But I said, you know, Marcus, if we're going to do a flight of your wines at the Wine Steward, can we be a little more comprehensive with your brand and maybe get something, 1 or 2 things that you don't usually release from the winery? So this is typically just for the wine club members at the winery and people who visit there, but Graziano did come out for the Wine Steward. Finish my Monastrell. Graziano is a grape that you may not know, but it is so important in Rioja, the wine region of Rioja, Spain. Of course, specializes in Tempranillo, but it uses just like 5 or 8% Graziano in some of its blends, the same way a Cabernet producer in Napa might use a little bit of Petit Verdot in his or her blend up there. Graziano does somewhat the same thing. It adds a little bit of mystery to the fruit of Tempranillo. Garden smells. This is really curious stuff. It's delicious, it's just different, and we rarely get to try Graziano isolated as a varietal, so that's why I wanted to put it into this Bokisch flight, and I'm very grateful to the Bokisch family for letting us get some here at the Wine Steward. It's a delicious rarity. Really nice, easy, rich textures, and not too rich, and not stewy, and not raisiny. So I'm sorry to the Lodi people who sell their wines directly out of tasting rooms, who don't get onto the center stage, the wine shop level. I don't want to offend, but some of those wines are just like more than you can feasibly drink a whole glass of. The Bokisch wines perform otherwise. The final Bokisch wine we're going to pour in this flight of 5 wines, and we're talking about wine number 4, so that's a mystery, right? Is the Tempranillo. Because, of course, you have to have Bokisch Tempranillo. I have to have it, and I can't find it. Here it is. All right, Bokisch Tempranillo. Tempranillo, we've all heard of that. And here it is. We're going to have some of this wine that we just talked about, Rioja, Spain. Tempranillo is, of course, Spain's, you could say, Cabernet. It's its most important noble grape, and Marcus does a lot with it. He actually got cuttings from Ribera del Duero, Spain, and brought them over to plant these vines. Remember that for later in the video. He got cuttings from Ribera del Duero. I'll say that in English, and I will say it in Spanish. Ribera del Duero, Spain, and brought them over and planted them in Lodi. That's pretty cool, right? And here's the result. It's a beautiful Tempranillo. It's immediately recognizable. If you drink Spanish Tempranillo, you will recognize the varietal going on here. Plum, cherry, tobacco, a little bit of leather, spice, everything nice. Very good. Well, the plot thickens, right? Because I said something about 4 Bokisch wines, and yet we typically do a 5 wine flight these days on the wine bar menu. What's number 5? A wine that got here yesterday. A wine that does not really come to California any other way. I've been to the winery a couple of times. I know about it, and so I beg a importer who's based in Virginia to send us out a few cases. And what happened? I don't know what happened. I can't find the damn bottle. Where is it? Oh my gosh. Is that it? That's not it. This is embarrassing. It's here. Oh, here it is. Look at that. That is not a Bokisch wine, is it? That looks a little different, but it might look familiar to you because those who are into the Rhone wines that we sell, and you know we're into the Rhone wines, have been buying this every year for probably 10 years from us now. I have admired this particular import of Fran Casella's portfolio for many, many years. Some of the Rhone wines this importer brings over are kind of over the top, very nearly modern, you could say, very fruit forward. This is certainly not shy in its fruit, but there is always this handprint of Garrigue going on that really makes it more authentically Rhone for me. And it almost kind of follows the design of the label, where you see this ancient looking label and you start to assume that this will be a little more classical in style. You smell it and you're reassured it is. That's a beautiful blend of Grenache or Syrah Mourvedre. And what's funny about the various tech sheets you might find out there in an internet search is no one can decide whether there's also 5% Grenache Blanc in this, yes, white wine, or also Grenache Blanc and Marsanne, another white wine. But so the tech sheets vary. I like that mystery. You know, these producers, the small guys especially, are not obsessive about perfectly accurately reporting on the cépage, meaning the grape ingredients in your wine. It's not their priority. What they're really interested in giving you is a well-made wine from their location. It's pride of place. What they want to say is this is the best we could do with our village, which is called Baume de Venise. That's the name of the village, which is right next to Vaqueras, which is right next to Gigondas, which is right next to Sablé and Séguret and so on, and they're all kind of a catapult stone throw away from what? Châteauneuf-du-Pape, right? So we're there in the southern Rhone, Grenache Syrah Mourvedre, plus white wine, a little bit. This is a reward for you who watch the videos, because you'll be among the very few to know that this just got here. I'll have 4 or 5 cases, and if you've been buying it for years, I say, grab it now, because there is no more. I just, in fact, communicated with the importer and I said, this is delicious. I've just opened a bottle. Can I get some more? The answer is no. The 2020 is already in the warehouse back there. Well, I wanted some more of this. There ain't no more except for what's downstairs. If you love this wine over the years, you're especially going to love this wine, because in the 2019 vintage, there was a heat wave and also some issues early in the growing year that made the crop smaller and much more concentrated. So this is not oversized. It's not like some of those Lodi wines. I'm not taking it down on Lodi. It sounds like I am. It is well in proportion, just a little richer than this can normally be, but it keeps its identity. You who have been drinking this wine for years will recognize the family resemblance in this 2019. So that's the end of the flight. I know that it's interesting to do 4 Bokisch and then 1 wine from France, but frankly, I couldn't wait to get this bottle open, selfish reasons. All right, we're going to transition now with a little bit of time left to declare wholeheartedly, without hesitation, that the Wine Club wines for July are now ready to pick up. Come and get them, Wine Club members. There are 6 different monthly clubs. If you're not a member yet, we hope you'll participate. Basically, the Wine Club members are one of our greatest providers, sustainers of this business. And you're getting 2 bottles of wine, depending on which club you're in. It's a different pair of wine. There's 6 different opportunities. Many of you are in multiple clubs. There's one of you, I believe it's Scott, right, who's in all 6, and I'm very grateful for that. We're basically providing him and his household with 12 a case of wine every month. That's pretty cool. You know, I get to do the shopping, and he's happy with that, I guess. Champagne's still good, just so you know. All right. Why don't we tell you about, you know, just 2 or 3 of them. 2 or 3 of the wines that are going into the club this month. So, White Wine Club. How about a Vinho Verde? Yeah, we don't say Vinho Verde if you want to be like correct. It's kind of fun to kind of get it down, to understand how they might say it over there. It's not Vinho Verde, it's Vinho Verde. All right, Vinho Verde is, well, I should probably put it in this glass. That was the Chocolino. That's still smelling good. That's from Basque Country. I was just comparing that Chocolina to Vinho Verde, wasn't I? I was saying that Chocolina is usually a little bit fizzy, just like Vinho Verde. Well, what's happening here is also a little bit ironic. Whereas that Chocolina that I've just put down isn't fizzy this time, neither is this. I mean, when you first open it, you might detect the slightest amount of pétillance or frizzante, you know, just a prickle of a bubble, but not the usual like Mountain Dew fizziness. There is just a little bit, but this is a grown-up Vinho Verde. I don't want to say that because it doesn't have bubbles in it, that it's a little more for the mature audience, but it's nice to see that Vinho Verde isn't just the $8 fizzy, silly, party, thoughtless. This has thought. This costs like $2 more than that, and it is it's valid for the White Wine Club because it has a little more going on. It's got green and fruit. It smells like lush foliage, like rained on foliage, like just after a rainstorm and you're going out in the garden and everything smells damp in a good way, a very refreshed way. That's what you get from this guy here. I'm not trying to be dramatic. This is my reaction to this delicious and affordable wine. It's Vinho Verde from Monastrell. Wow. So that's going to the White Wine Lovers Club along with some other white wine. I can't remember what that is right now because I don't have it in front of me. But what I do have in front of me is this thing that I need to open up. Why do I open up so many bottles of wine? Well, they're either destined for the wine bar menu, and that's why we do these things on Thursdays and Fridays, because the same bottles you see me like having little sips of are going to be represented to our clients, our customers, just later in the day. Well, I need to get this bottle open because when I write wine club notes, I have a bottle open on my desk. Not a bad job, right? But I got that nasty looking spit bucket right next to me, so don't worry about me. I'm being responsible with my intake. We're going to show you Wine Adventure Wine Club members a red wine from Sicily this month. It's made of a grape called Nero Diablo. This selection was made because of what this wine, Nero Diablo, is not. Not because of what it is. Well, it is lovely. But Nero Diablo can often be a overachiever. And I'm not going to say anything about Lodi, but it's kind of the same idea. Nero Diablo can be too soupy, too stewy, too, like pruny. And that smells good and tastes good, and then you realize, I don't know if I can drink whole glasses of that kind of wine. Well, we have found you an exceptional 12.5% alcohol, so down a notch, right? Nero Diablo from this smaller producer in Sicily. It's got all of the Nero character, and yet on the palate, there's more air than liquid, you could say. Not soupy, not stewy, and also not light on Nero Diablo character. It does not misrepresent the grape. All it does is omit the soupy stewiness that is a tendency of this varietal. And that's why the Wine Adventure Wine Club members have had it chosen for them. We think it's exceptional for a nice low price. We'll take you to Italy. We'll show you a great grape that is more thoughtfully rendered. How about that? All right. Hey, there's something else we can open up. I love opening bottles of wine. And I can usually show off by pulling the capsule off, and that didn't work this time, so let's just do some carving and make some noise and beat up my table. We mentioned that we got in, 2 months ago, a Chateauneuf de Pape that was remarkably priced, and we asked the importer if they wouldn't mind holding on to a good amount of it for 2 months, which is a big ask. To sit on money is hard for anybody of us in the wine business at any level. So saying, hey, in 2 months we're going to buy enough wine for the wine club of this stuff you've got sitting in the warehouse, the reply could very understandably be, no way, come on, man, other people want this and they're paying for it now. It's like, no, but we have a great relationship with this particular importer. It smells good. And they're providing us with a Chateauneuf de Pape that has rather unusual pricing. This just pops over, it pops over barely over $30, and Chateauneuf-du-Pape lovers will know that you're not usually spending just, I don't know, 35 bucks before Wine Club discount for your favorite juice. And that's what happens here. Apparently this was designed for restaurants, and when it came time to import them, export them to places like the United States restaurants, well, what happened? The restaurants weren't actually receiving the wine because there was something called the pandemic going on, that frickin' pandemic. So we are the beneficiaries of this windfall, you could call it, this nice Chateauneuf-du-Pape, which is going to the World Class Wine Club this month. Garrigue, a little bit of rusticity. This is kind of the old world classical style of Chateauneuf. I like it for that. Some of these producers have gone too far over to like giving you big fat fruit. Well, we can get that from California. When we go to Europe, we want to feel like we've gone there. We want to have that in our glass. That's happening here with this Saint-Galais Chateauneuf-du-Pape Grenache Syrah Mourvedre. Once again, the tech sheet from this winery is bullshit. It can't really faithfully report on exactly what's in the blend. I mean, we can assume it's Grenache Syrah Mourvedre, but these guys out there in that vineyard, they could also have a little bit of Vacquerez and Bourgogne, yes, some white wine, and Cinsault and so on. So forget the tech sheet for now, and just hope for a good Chateauneuf-du-Pape. It's not one that I would age for more than 1 or 2 years, frankly. It's so ready to drink. It's very appealing. It's designed perhaps to, maybe it's the younger vines or whatever, but it is not like as important as the $60 versions. But this is great for now. Like, drink it now, drink it on a weeknight. It's affordable for that. Saint-Galais, World Class Wine Club. I mean, sometimes the World Class wines, the name of that club implies that you're supposed to hold on to the wines, cellar them for a special event. No, just get into this. You can. Go for it. And it's still world class, and it identifies the region. The last thing I'd like to talk about is just a reminder and a congratulations to you and a thank you to you. We suggested in the last video that this wine that was bottled just for us was possibly going to go to the California Wine Club this month, and it's not. We said it might not because we had a feeling, by creating a little bit of a buzz about a Tempranillo that was made just for us, that the one barrel that was made, meaning 25 cases, and was stacked up downstairs, might shrink down beyond our ability to give it to your club. In other words, we need about 17 or 18 cases, where we just like passed that boundary line, and we need to sell it all another way now. Kudos to you for recognizing how good this 100% Tempranillo is from our friend Adam Webb. I know I'm going long, but this story is worth telling. We told you earlier about Bokisch wines, right? Well, Marcus Bokisch, who brought cuttings of Tempranillo over from Ribera del Duero, Spain, and planted them in Lodi. What did he do next? A friend came over, his next door neighbor, I think it's right next door, Lewis Vineyard, said, I have old Cabernet vines. I'm not going to kill them. I'm not going to rip them out. I'm going to lop them off if you will give me cuttings off of your Tempranillo vines. So Lewis got Bokisch's Tempranillo cuttings and grafted them onto his very old, very significantly rooted Cabernet Sauvignon vines. And so Adam bought fruit from Lewis Vineyard off of those vines. Kind of cool, right? Fully established, a developed root system. Tempranillo having come originally from Ribera del Duero, Spain. It's beautiful Gran Reserva, called that because this is the lost barrel. One barrel Adam decided not to bottle 2 years ago. He bottled it about 4 or 5 weeks ago and saved that entire barrel's worth of wine for us exclusively. It's selling like hotcakes. I think we have about 15 cases left. I invite you to take advantage of this. I'm going to take full advantage of the fact that I have a bottle of it open here. Because that's what I get to do. And if you come in sometime today, I'm happy to share some of this with you. I can't drink it all myself. And I'm just going to say that over 5 years, Tempranillo 100%, over 5 years in American oak, oversized American oak. Adam likes big barrels. It's lovely. You could pour this for anyone in your wine world, whether they're cab people or European wine lovers, and I think there's going to be a knowing nod. I think it crosses a lot of boundaries of wine preference. Mild, suave, plummy. The wood is there, but it's integrated. We like to say that. It's a fancy word. I'm just going to have a little more of this and sign off right now. You heard this deal. You heard that the Wine Club wines are ready to pick up. You heard what we're pouring on our wine bar, emphasizing Bokisch, one of our favorite producers in the whole world. And I'm leaving. Bye.